So we talked about this last week. The relationship between the circumference of a circle and its diameter is a proportional relationship. Remember we drew the line, it went through the origin, and it was basically linear, even though it wasn't perfect because we were having to round some things off. That means that a graph of this relationship is a line that contains the origin. Again, that's what we did last week. The growth rate for this line is a little more than 3. The exact growth rate is an irrational number, meaning it's a non-repeating, non-ending decimal that we symbolize with the Greek letter pi. Pi is approximately 3.14. Again, that's just an approximation. It's not exact. Yes, sir?
Who found out this?
Who first discovered this relationship? That's a great question, and I'm not sure I know the answer to that. There actually is, in the Bible, there's they talk about how many cubits it is around this bowl and how many cubits it is across. And so they kind of knew, but I don't know who originally kind of figured it out. It's a good question. All right, since this is only an approximation, we cannot give exact numeric answers for questions about the circumference of a circle. However, we can give an exact answer in terms of pi. This is what we're going to do, right, Ben? Pardon? Okay, well, at this point, I'd like you to stop doing whatever it is you're doing and be with us, please. Thank you. So, we want the relationship between circumference and diameter. I want an equation. How could you calculate the circumference of the circle if you knew the diameter? So if I want to know the circumference of a circle, what do I have to do to the diameter to get the circumference? Multiply by pi. It's pi times the diameter, which means the diameter is the circumference divided by pi. So we talked about this last time. So if you wrap the string around the can and then check that against a height, would the string be shorter or longer than the can? It's going to be longer. My question is, that wasn't on here, is why? Why is that? Well, no. How many diameters of the tennis ball high is this? 3. The height of the can is 3 diameters of the ball. Right? Because it's 3 balls stacked up, a diameter plus another diameter. But the distance around the can is going to be the circumference of a ball, right? So it's going to be pi diameters. Which is more than 3 diameters.
So if it was only 2 tennis balls, that means it would be, if it was 4 tennis balls, that would mean it would be shorter?
No, if it was only 2 centimeters, two tennis balls, it'd be a lot bigger.
I meant 4.
Yeah, if it was 4, it would be less. So, the relationship between the circumference of a circle and the diameter of a circle can be expressed by the formula circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, where the capital C stands for circumference and D stands for the diameter. All right. This is the part that sometimes students get confused about. So let's make sure everybody's got this. Find the circumference of a circle whose diameter is 12 inches. Give both an exact answer in terms of pi and as an approximation. So the circumference is pi times the diameter. So the exact answer is 12 pi inches. That's the exact circumference. The approximate, we need to take 3.14 times 12. It would be 37.68 inches.
So anything multiplied by pi is infinite?
If you take a whole number and multiply by pi, then what you get is an infinite number, yes. All right, on this next one, find the circumference of a circle whose radius is 5 centimeters. Well, the circumference is going to be pi times 5. So the exact, oh, but is it? It's going to be pi times 10. Why?
Because 5 is halfway to the circle.
All right, the radius is half of the diameter. So the exact is going to be 10 pi centimeters. And the approximate, if I multiply 3.14 times 10, you shouldn't have to write that out. Yeah, 31.4 centimeters. All right, let's go on. This time they've given us the circumference. They want us to find the radius and the diameter of the circle. Give both an exact answer in terms of pi and as an approximation. All right. So now we've got 18 is equal to pi times the diameter. So what would we have to do to solve that for the diameter? Pardon? Yeah. So what are we doing? Not what is the answer, what do we do? Divide by pi. So for the exact, the diameter is 18 over pi feet. And the radius, well, how much would the radius be? Half of that, which is 9 over pi feet. Now they want us to give a decimal approximation for this. This is where it gets ugly. So, pardon? It's not fun to do by hand. So if you have a calculator, not your iPad, but if you have a calculator, again, not your iPad.
Not mine. Let's dig them. Make them dig. It's not mine.
Sammy's my calculator. I stole mine from my parents. Yes, sir. Sammy, you're my calculator. You're my calculator. If you get the joke.
2.8647888976.
That's horrible, isn't it?
Numbers.
So the diameter is approximately 5.7324844076 feet. And the radius would be half of that. So that's 2.866 242038 feet. All right, let's take a look. So, scientists have measured the diameter of the Earth at the equator to be about 7,926 miles. By the way, the reason it's at the equator is because the Earth is not perfectly spherical. Yes. Yeah. So, if we're going all the way around the Earth along the equator, approximately how many miles would you have traveled? What is it we're finding there? Circumference. So the circumference would be equal to 7926 times pi. And then it said on your calculator, you either use the pi button or 3.14159. Let's see, if you use the pi button, 7926 times pi.
Numbers.
It's approximately 24,900.26337. If you do the 7926 times 3.14159, you get something that's pretty close. You get 24,900.24234. So it's only off by a very little bit. So it says if it takes the average human 2 hours to walk 5 miles, so you're walking 2.5 miles an hour, which is not real super fast, how long would it take a person to walk around the Earth at the equator, assuming it was actually possible to do so?
You'd probably die.
So it's 2 hours every 5 miles. So 2 hours for every 5 miles. What do I need to do with this number
Times 2.
to get what I want, which is the number of hours? So do I need to multiply or do I need to divide? I'm actually looking for answers here, not just blank looks. All right, well, let's look at the units if you don't know. I'm supposed to end up with hours, correct? So I want the hours to stay. And this is miles, right? Miles here is on bottom. So I want to multiply. Because that's in miles over 1. I want those miles to cancel. If you think about the units, a lot of times that will answer the question of whether you should multiply something or divide something. So if I take that number and multiply by 2 and divide by 5, it would take approximately 9,960.105349 hours. Just in case you're curious, that would be about 415 days. So it's nearly a year and a half. It's a little less than that. It's 1.14 years. Yeah, less than a year and a quarter. A little over a year and a tenth. All right. Now, Signals that travel across the internet are often carried through fiber optic cables and travel at the speed of light, approximately 186,000 miles every second. At this rate, how long would it take for an email to travel around the Earth? Okay. So I've got how many miles? 24,900.26337. That's miles, right? I want to end up with something in time. Am I going to multiply by the 186,000, or am I going to divide by the 186,000? We're going to divide. Because this is miles per second, right? And when you divide, what do you do with what you're dividing by? When you're dividing by a fraction, what do you do with it? If I'm trying to multiply 5 times 2/3, what do I do? Or 5 divided by 2/3, what do we do? No, oh God. No, you do not get a common denominator. Okay. Shh, quiet please. If I have 5 divided by 2/3, how do I do that? No.
Make it into a fraction and then
No.
2/3.
Keep the 5. You change the division
Flip the
sign.
one on the right.
It's 5 times 3/2. No. You said convert the 5. You don't need to convert the 5.
Don't you put a 1 on a fraction? And
Well, that's not a conversion. But, okay. But it's 15/2. Anyway, all that said, it's very disappointing the number of people who didn't immediately say, you multiply by the reciprocal. So, if we do that, pull that original number up.
You can calculate that in your head, right, Sandy? And you can simplify it. Stop saying
That's how long it would take if it was all on fiber optic.
Wait 1 second. Wow.
Now, in reality, there's not a fiber optic cable that runs around the circumference of the Earth.
Would that even be possible?
Would it be possible? Yes. Why?
Expensive.
Yeah.
Until Sandy makes it.
All right.